The latest Meghan Markle controversy coming out of Australia is not really about one awkward television appearance. It is about a pattern. It is about the way Meghan enters a highly produced environment, expects to be the gravitational center, then appears to struggle when someone else in the room has more natural warmth, more authority, or more local affection. This time, the setting is MasterChef Australia. The figure at the center of the reporting is beloved judge Ling Yeow, and the allegation being discussed is that tensions behind the scenes became so uncomfortable that producers had to step in more than once during filming. On-screen, viewers may eventually see a polished segment, a smiling duchess, a television kitchen, and a carefully edited challenge. But the behind-the-scenes reporting suggests a very different atmosphere. According to New Idea, sources connected to the production claimed that while the episode looked picture-perfect on camera, the dynamic on set was not always smooth. The issue was not simply that Meghan appeared as a major international guest.
Lady C, look, if this was a one-off situation, you'd think, oh, maybe these two just had a personality clash, right? I mean, I don't know this Poe, okay? I don't know Poe. Maybe she's a bit of a cow too, but that isn't my understanding, Lady C. She seems to be an incredibly popular figure in Australia. And given Meghan's track record, I am inclined to believe that these sources to New Idea are correct. She was simply trying to make Meghan feel comfortable, trying to be warm, and you saw that look. Meghan hated her. The latest bombshells from Harry.
It was that the contestants naturally gravitated toward Ling Yeow for reassurance, humor, and feedback, rather than focusing all of their attention on Meghan as the star attraction. That matters because Poe is not a random background personality in Australia. She is a familiar television figure, warm, energetic, and liked by audiences who know her. Meghan may have arrived with a global title and a headline, but Poe had the room. And if the reports are accurate, that difference created tension. One source described the atmosphere as awkward at times, suggesting that Meghan seemed aware that the attention was not landing entirely where it was expected to land. A second insider reportedly said that producers had anticipated Meghan would be the central focus of the day, but the reality on set was more uneven. That is the key word, uneven. It does not necessarily mean a heated clash. It does not necessarily mean a dramatic confrontation. It means the energy of the room was not behaving in the way the production had designed it to behave. The contestants trusted Poe. They looked to Poe. Poe's natural personality appeared to carry the set. Meghan, who was supposed to be the special guest, may have found herself competing with a host who was simply better loved in that environment. That is where the story becomes interesting, because Meghan's entire public image depends on control. She understands image, lighting, framing, language, press placement, and symbolic presentation. A cooking show appearance, especially one tied to her Duchess identity and lifestyle ambitions, is not just a bit of fun. It is branding. It is a chance to look elegant, approachable, generous, relaxed, and royal adjacent without being too royal. But live television production, even when heavily edited, still involves other people. Other people have personalities, other people have local status, other people can be liked more in the room. And that is where a brand built around control can begin to wobble. The reported flashpoint around the word royalty only made the situation more complicated.
And ebullient personality than Meghan's, and that Meghan can't stand anybody who outstrips her in any way, shape or form, and that she immediately had her competitive vibes and antennae up, and she was about to annihilate Poe and did everything she could to sort of discomfit her, so that, I mean, Dan, you are a part of the entertainment world. You know that there are many very effervescent people. And even if somebody is not naturally effervescent, they go along with the flow and it makes for a far more interesting and vital show. Well, Meghan made sure that that absolutely wasn't.
According to the discussion, preview material connected to the episode showed Poe introducing Meghan in royal terms. And there were claims that Meghan's team was unhappy with that language. Poe was reportedly upset because she had not intended to violate any protocol or cause a problem. But the whole situation becomes hard to take seriously when the episode itself appears to have featured a challenge called something like a dish fit for a duchess. If the word duchess is built into the entertainment format, then objecting to the broader royal framing begins to look selective. You cannot use the title as the hook and then act surprised when the host treats the guest as royalty. That is why critics immediately connected the MasterChef appearance to the Sandringham Agreement. When Harry and Meghan left royal duties, the late Queen Elizabeth II made the central principle clear: they could not be half in and half out. They could not live as private commercial figures while using royal status whenever it was useful. They could not represent the crown one day and sell themselves as independent celebrities the next. That boundary matters, because the monarchy depends on separating public duty from private profit. If Meghan appears on a commercial reality television show with a challenge built around her Duchess title, critics naturally ask whether that is exactly the kind of royal commercialization the late Queen tried to prevent. Of course, Meghan and her defenders would likely argue that she is legally entitled to use her title and that a television guest appearance is not the same as performing royal duty. That is true in the narrowest sense. But monarchy runs on optics as much as technicalities. If a broadcaster markets a segment around Meghan's Duchess status, and if her presence is valuable because of her royal connection, then the royal brand is part of the commercial product, whether she was paid directly or not. The title is being used to generate attention for entertainment. If no fee was involved, and if the appearance was charitable, that could have been made clear. The fact that the fee question appears to remain unconfirmed only sharpens the criticism. The page 6 response from sources close to Meghan also follows a familiar pattern.
Going to happen because she wasn't going to have Poe outstrip her. So all of Poe's jokes evidently landed like thuds. And it's very easy to curdle milk. And Meghan curdles milk at the drop of a hat. And I think that's what was really happening. And as for the excuse that she was introduced as royalty, I mean, you and I both know that if Meghan had truly objected to that introduction, she could have very simply got them to redo the introduction. So, I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors and, as usual, a whole load of rubbish about nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know what you...
Instead of letting the story settle as a few awkward moments on a high-pressure set, Meghan's side reportedly pushed back by saying that she and Poe had a great time and that there was no frustration from Meghan about anything said on set. That may be true. It may also be the standard damage control line. The problem is that when multiple sources describe awkwardness, producers stepping in, and Poe feeling upset, a denial that everything was wonderful does not erase the question. It simply creates another competing version of events. This is the pattern that has followed Meghan for years. One incident can be dismissed as a personality clash. Two can be explained as misunderstanding. But when allegations or complaints seem to appear in different environments, across different countries, with different people, the public starts to see a pattern, whether Meghan's defenders like it or not. The source material connects the MasterChef story to earlier reporting around Kensington Palace, the fallout between Meghan and Catherine, bullying allegations involving palace staff, Valentine Lowe's work in Courtiers, later Hollywood reporting, Vanity Fair reporting, and accusations made by Dr. Sophie Shandauker connected to the Centre-Ballet dispute. Each case has its own details and legal caution around it, but the cumulative effect is damaging. It is important to be precise. Allegations are not verdicts. Reports are not court findings. People can brief against public figures for many reasons. Palace environments can be difficult. Hollywood sets can be competitive. Charities can have internal politics. But when a public figure has repeatedly built her brand around kindness, compassion, women's empowerment, mental health, anti-bullying, and being silenced or mistreated, any recurring claim of difficult behavior carries extra weight. The contradiction becomes part of the story. Meghan has spoken often about harm done to her, her critics argue that she has not shown the same sensitivity when others describe feeling harmed by her. That is why the allegation involving Yeow matters so much emotionally.
Actually contravenes the Sandringham Summit Agreement. And it was nothing to do with poor Po saying royalty. It was to do with the fact that the entire challenge was called a dish fit for a duchess. So there she is using her royalty.
Po is not widely understood as a hostile figure. She is known as warm, animated, and good at lifting the mood. If someone like that reportedly ends up upset because of a Meghan-centered production dynamic, the public response is predictable. People will not instinctively assume Po was the problem. They will ask whether Meghan struggled with being outshone by someone more naturally beloved in that specific space. Lady Colin Campbell's interpretation in the original discussion was exactly that. Po's personality may have been more effervescent than Meghan's, and Meghan may not have enjoyed being in the presence of someone who could outshine her without trying. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, it fits a broader criticism of Meghan's public persona. Meghan often presents herself as warm, empathetic, and emotionally intelligent, but critics say her warmth appears highly controlled and sometimes vanishes when she is not the center. On a cooking show, the best guest leans into the host's rhythm. They allow the regular judge to lead. They laugh, adapt, compliment, and relax into the format. If a joke does not land, they keep the energy generous. If a contestant prefers the familiar judge, they accept it. A truly confident celebrity does not need to dominate every room. They can share attention. That is what makes this allegation so damaging. It suggests insecurity rather than star power. The visual discussion around Meghan's expression also fed the story. Screenshots and thumbnails circulated online, with commentators claiming Meghan looked tense, forced, or displeased. Screenshots can be unfair, because a single frozen frame can make anyone look strange. But public image is built partly through these moments, especially when a celebrity has cultivated such a controlled visual brand. If the still images seem to support the behind-the-scenes reports, the narrative hardens quickly. A tense face becomes evidence, a denial becomes spin.
Charitable project, if she was donating her fee, for example, to a particular organization that she was passionate about, that would have been publicized. That would have been part of the TV show. So I believe she contravened the Sandringham Summit directly anyway by using her Duchess title in order to make money in the entertainment industry. So the fact poor Po mentioned the word royalty is totally irrelevant to that. It's the use of the word and the term Duchess as part of a challenge in a reality TV show, which I think would have left the late Queen Elizabeth II completely horrified.
Oh, but let's also remember, Dan, that this was a part.
A carefully planned television appearance becomes another chapter in the ongoing argument about who Meghan really is. When the cameras are not flattering her, the MasterChef story also exposes the difficulty Meghan now faces with her lifestyle pivot. A cooking show should be an ideal setting for her current brand. It connects to food, entertaining, taste, warmth, and domestic creativity. It could have supported, as ever, her lifestyle products and the image of Meghan as a gracious hostess. Yet, instead of a clean media win, the story became about whether she upset Po, whether producers had to intervene, whether the royal title was being used commercially, and whether the entire appearance violated the spirit of the Sandringham settlement. That is the Sussex problem in miniature. Even when the platform should be simple, the royal baggage follows. The MasterChef story also exposes the difficulty Meghan now faces with her lifestyle pivot. A cooking show should be an ideal setting for her current brand. It connects to food, entertaining, taste, warmth, and domestic creativity. It could have supported, as ever, her lifestyle products and the image of Meghan as a gracious hostess. Yet, instead of a clean media win, the story became about whether she upset Po, whether producers had to intervene, whether the royal title was being used commercially, and whether the entire appearance violated the spirit of the Sandringham settlement. That is the Sussex problem in miniature. Even when the platform should be simple, the royal baggage follows. There is also a deeper problem with the way the episode appears to have been positioned. Meghan's lifestyle project depends on selling approachability. She needs the audience to believe she can enter a kitchen, connect with ordinary contestants, enjoy someone else's expertise, and become part of a warm domestic scene. That is very different from the older royal model, where a duchess arrives, receives deference, smiles, and leaves. A lifestyle personality has to give. She has to make other people look good. She has to be curious. She has to let the host shine. If the behind-the-scenes story,
a semi-official, almost state visit by these two pretentious pifflers who have no royal status anymore. And let's remember also that Harry has made it clear that they are working royals and that they've torn up the Sandringham Agreement. And he had started to make it clear while they were in Australia, while this was being filmed. So all of this it's their behavior synchronizes with not only bullying, but disrespecting the Sandringham Agreement and trying to revise it so that they will be allowed to use their royal status to make money. And Meghan and Harry are both great denialists.
becomes that Meghan was unsettled because Poe was naturally more liked. Then the episode undercuts the exact image Meghan is trying to build. This is why Poe is such a difficult person for Meghan to be compared against. Poe's appeal is not based on title or status. It is based on familiarity, food credibility, humor, and the sense that she belongs in that kitchen. Viewers do not need to be told why she matters. They already understand her role. Meghan's challenge was to enter that world lightly enough that Poe's warmth became part of her own glow. Instead, critics say the opposite happened. Poe's warmth made Meghan look colder, and Poe's ease made Meghan look more controlled. Whether the final edit hides that or not, the reporting has already planted the question in viewers' minds. As ever needs exactly the kind of credibility that a positive MasterChef appearance could provide. A lifestyle brand does not survive on headlines alone. It needs trust, habit, product usefulness, and a founder who feels natural in the space. Meghan should be able to appear in kitchens, talk about food, connect with chefs, praise contestants, and make viewers feel that her products belong in a real domestic world. Instead, critics see a brand that remains too dependent on title, image, and controlled presentation. If a cooking show appearance becomes a controversy before the episode even airs, that does not help the business. It reinforces the sense that Meghan's biggest product is still Meghan, not the jam, the honey, the sprinkles, the candles, or the recipes. The issue of payment also matters because Meghan and Harry continue to hover between charity language and commercial reality. If Meghan is appearing as a private celebrity, then she can be paid like a celebrity. If she is appearing as a duchess, a royal adjacent figure, and someone being introduced in language that evokes the monarchy, then critics will ask whether royal status is being monetized. That is exactly the space the late Queen wanted to avoid. The Sussexes often seem to want the emotional halo of service and the income stream of entertainment at the same time. That combination creates mistrust. Lady Colin Campbell's criticism in the original discussion was that Harry and Meghan behave as if they have torn up the Sandringham Agreement in practice, even if no one has formally announced such a thing. The claim is that they continue to act like working royals when it suits them, especially on trips or appearances where the title opens doors, but they remain private commercial actors when accountability arises. This is not merely a personal irritation. It is an institutional problem. Royal titles are not ordinary celebrity stage names. They imply connection to the crown. When those titles are placed inside commercial content, the crown is pulled into the transaction whether the palace wants it or not. That is why the phrase, "dish fit for a duchess," is so revealing. It sounds light, harmless, and television friendly, but it also turns the title into the entertainment mechanic. The contestants are not merely cooking for Meghan Markle, actress, entrepreneur, or media personality. They are cooking for a duchess. The show is borrowing the royal aura. That aura exists only because Meghan married Prince Harry and was given a title by the monarchy she later criticized. If the title drives a segment, then the monarchy is part of the spectacle. Critics are right to see the tension. The discussion then shifts from MasterChef to a wider argument about Oprah Winfrey and the 2021 interview, because the same themes return. Celebrity platforms, weak follow-up questions, royal titles, race, and narratives that cause serious damage to the royal family. Oprah has recently revisited the famous "were you silent or were you silenced" moment, explaining that she asked the question for clarity. Critics are not convinced. They argue that if Oprah wanted clarity, she should have asked the next questions. Who silenced Meghan? How was she silenced? Was she threatened? Was she blocked from speaking? Was this palace protocol, legal restriction, or emotional perception? A dramatic question without a factual follow-up is not clarification. It is performance. That moment matters because the Oprah interview helped establish Meghan's image as a woman oppressed by an institution that would not let her speak. It was emotionally powerful television, but it left the mechanics vague. Meghan said she was silenced, and the audience was invited to absorb the accusation. But the audience did not receive enough detail to evaluate it properly. That is the same problem with several of the interview's most explosive claims. They were emotionally clear, but factually unclear. The format rewarded impact rather than precision. The title issue around Archie is perhaps the best example. Meghan suggested in the Oprah interview that Archie was not being made a prince and was not receiving security in a way that was connected directly or indirectly to concerns about skin color. That implication traveled around the world, but the royal title rules were not invented for Archie. Under the George V Convention.
And Lady C, you go on, and I would love you to explain this, that you had your own personal experience with Oprah Winfrey back in 1993, and as a result, you've never trusted this woman. Long before this interview, Lady C, you did not trust Oprah.
The children and grandchildren of the sovereign are entitled to prince or princess status, with certain exceptions made by the monarch. Archie was a great-grandchild of Queen Elizabeth II at birth, not a grandchild of the sovereign until Charles became king. That distinction should have been explained in the interview. Oprah either did not know enough to challenge it or chose not to press the point. Neither option is flattering. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis received their styles because Queen Elizabeth made specific provision for the children of the future king. That was a special exception connected to the direct line of succession. Archie and Lilibet were in a different constitutional position at the time. Once Charles became king, they became grandchildren of the sovereign, and the title question changed. But in 2021, the way the subject was framed allowed viewers to think something unusual and discriminatory had happened. That is why critics say the interview was misleading. A basic explanation of royal protocol would have changed the entire emotional weight of that segment. The security claim was tangled into the same emotional framing. Viewers were encouraged to see title, race, and protection as part of one story when each issue had its own rules and context. Security for royals is not automatically attached to style alone. It depends on role, threat assessment, public duties, and decisions made by security bodies. The Oprah interview did not walk the audience through those distinctions. It created a feeling of institutional cruelty, then moved on. That is precisely why the clip remains controversial years later. It was powerful television, but it left the audience with more outrage than clarity. That matters now because Meghan's MasterChef situation again turns on royal language. In 2021, the argument was that royal structures had denied something to her family.
We've committed to.
Absolutely.
And they then turned rather nasty and said to me, well, we're the Oprah show and blah, blah, blah. And I don't remember what it was called now or any of it. But I do remember them saying, if you don't do this, and we need you to do it, and if you don't do it, we're going to blacklist you and you will never have you on again. I said, my dear, if that's your attitude, please feel free to never have me on again, because I certainly wouldn't want to go on to a show with people who thought they were going to be able to blackmail and bully me. Absolutely not. I said, so you can forget ever asking me on again, because I'll never come on again. And I just thought it was the behavior was so arrogant.
In Australia, the criticism is that royal structures are being borrowed for commercial attention. Those are very different claims, but they meet at the same point. Meghan's relationship to royal status is never simple. When royal status wounds her, she speaks against it. When royal status markets her, it remains useful. That contradiction is why the public keeps returning to protocol, titles, and the late Queen's settlement. Lady Colin Campbell's argument is that Oprah, as a major interviewer, should have known this or should have prepared well enough to know it. Harry and Meghan certainly should have known it, because it directly concerned their own children and their own family rules. When a high-profile interview contains claims about monarchy, race, titles, and security, preparation matters. You cannot simply let an emotional story override constitutional fact. If a guest makes a claim that suggests the royal family denied a child a title for racial reasons, the interviewer has an obligation to test that claim carefully. Oprah did not do that. This is why Oprah's recent attempt to revisit the interview feels, to critics, like reputation management. She may not be fully disowning the Sussexes, but she appears aware that the legacy of the interview is less secure than it once looked. In 2021, the cultural mood was very different. Harry and Meghan were treated by many outlets as courageous figures exposing an outdated institution. Years later, their stories have shifted, their projects have struggled, and public patience has worn thin. The interview now looks less like an act of fearless journalism and more like a celebrity platform that allowed friends to tell a damaging story without sufficient challenge. The Lady C material adds a personal anecdote about Oprah from the 1990s, when Lady C says she declined an invitation connected to the Oprah show because she had already committed to another program, and the response from Oprah's side was allegedly heavy-handed. Whether one treats that anecdote as a personal grievance or a revealing memory, its function in the source is clear. Lady C argues that Oprah is not the gentle truth seeker her public image sometimes suggests, but a powerful media figure who understands leverage.
Outspoken, especially about women's rights. I mean, that's the sad irony of the last 4 years, is I've advocated for so long for women to use their voice, and then I was silent.
Were you silent or were you silenced?
The latter.
Okay, very nice. I don't think I've done it since. I don't know where the hell that came from. Whoop, okay. I wanted to be clear because was she silenced? Were people telling her not to talk? That's why I said that. I said it for clarification, because I didn't want later to hear, well, no, it wasn't that. It really was that I was silenced. They wouldn't let me talk. So it was all for clarification.
That is why critics do not accept the idea that Oprah was innocently swept along in 2021. They believe she knew exactly how the interview was being shaped. The connection between the MasterChef story and the Oprah story is stronger than it first appears. Both involve Meghan entering a major media environment where image is everything. Both involve a narrative built around Meghan's feelings and status. Both involve the use of royal identity for emotional or commercial effect. Both involve other people being pulled into Meghan's story and then left to handle the consequences. In Australia, Poe reportedly became upset over a royal framing issue she never intended to create. In 2021, members of the royal family were placed under a cloud by an allegation that was never properly clarified. The pattern is that Meghan's narrative becomes the center and everyone else has to rearrange themselves around it. This is why the bullying discussion refuses to disappear. Meghan has consistently rejected the idea that she mistreated staff, and her supporters often frame the allegations as palace pushback, racism, sexism, or resentment against a woman who did not know her place. But critics argue that the same kinds of stories keep emerging outside the palace. If difficult behavior is reported only in one institution, perhaps the institution is the problem. If similar tensions are reported in royal households, media companies, charities, television sets, and entertainment environments, the explanation becomes harder to contain. Again, allegations must be treated carefully. But patterns shape public belief. There is also a gender dimension Meghan cannot easily escape. Her brand often relies on solidarity with women, empowerment, language, compassion, and the idea that women should be heard and believed. Yet in the Poe story, if Poe was upset, Meghan's side appears to have moved quickly to say there was no problem and that everything was fine. Critics ask whether Meghan believes in the validity of women's feelings only when the woman in question is Meghan. That is harsh, but it captures the frustration.
So she's saying that this was the equivalent of actually asking genuine journalistic follow-up questions. Go figure.
Such as, let's remember, Meghan's precursor had been that the royal family.
A public figure who speaks constantly about empathy will be judged especially severely when others describe her as lacking it. Harry's role is part of the story too. The source raises the question of whether he has enabled Meghan's behavior over time. Some people close to Harry might say he is also a victim of the dynamic, or that he has been isolated, emotionally pressured, or swept along. Critics are not so generous. They argue that Harry has repeatedly defended Meghan, attacked those who questioned her, and allowed her version of events to shape his public war with his family. If Meghan has a pattern of conflict, Harry has at minimum helped carry that pattern into the royal sphere. He cannot claim total innocence when his own interviews, memoir, and public statements have amplified the Sussex narrative. The Sussex Squad also appears in the source as part of the wider bullying contradiction. Meghan and Harry have spoken about online harm, digital safety, and the dangers of harassment. Yet critics argue that a network of aggressive online supporters has often attacked perceived enemies of the Sussexes with intense hostility. It is difficult to hold a moral platform against bullying while benefiting from a fan culture that behaves harshly toward journalists, royal watchers, staff, commentators, and even members of the royal family. Harry and Meghan do not control every person who supports them online, but public figures can set a tone. Critics believe the Sussex tone has too often encouraged grievance rather than restraint. The MasterChef episode also matters because it is linked to Meghan's broader attempt to rebuild relevance through lifestyle content. Her Netflix show and As Ever brand have not become the overwhelming success that early hype suggested. A major Australian television appearance could have helped create new momentum. It could have shown Meghan as relaxed, charming, food-focused, and commercially viable in a market beyond the United States. Instead, the conversation before the episode even airs is about whether she made a beloved judge cry, whether her title was used improperly, and whether producers had to manage tension. That is not a clean publicity cycle. It is reputational drag.
To become princes. But that was an exception. Harry and Meghan's children were never going to be that directly in the line of succession. And there was no way ever that they would be entitled to be prince or princess until such time as Harry's father acceded to the throne. And if Oprah didn't know this, she should have known it. And Meghan and Harry certainly knew it. And the mere fact that
the Australian context is especially sensitive because Harry and Meghan's previous overseas appearances have already been criticised as quasi-royal tours. If Meghan uses Australian television to market herself as a duchess, while the couple continues to float royal-adjacent international activity, the half-in, half-out concern returns immediately. Are they private celebrities? Are they quasi-royal figures? Are they commercial personalities? Are they charity advocates? The answer seems to shift depending on what is useful. That shifting identity is exactly what the late Queen tried to stop. Australia also has a particular place in the Sussex story. Their 2018 royal tour was once seen as the moment Meghan could become a global royal star. Years later, Australia becomes part of a different narrative. Paid appearances, lifestyle branding, television challenges, and awkward questions about whether the Sussexes can use royal symbolism while rejecting royal discipline. That arc is striking. The country that once helped introduce Meghan as a working royal now becomes a backdrop for the argument over whether she is trying to keep the benefits of that role without the obligations. The palace's problem is that it cannot easily police every appearance without reigniting the Sussex feud. If Buckingham Palace comments, it fuels the story. If it stays silent, critics say the Sussexes are getting away with using royal status commercially. If King Charles privately wants peace with Harry, he may be reluctant to enforce boundaries too aggressively. But every unchecked use of the Duchess identity in commercial entertainment makes Prince William's future job harder. William is likely to be much less sympathetic to arguments about personal branding and emotional repair. He will inherit the institutional consequences of whatever Charles tolerates now. That is why this story, though it begins in a television kitchen, is really about the future of royal boundaries. Meghan appearing on MasterChef may seem small compared with Oprah's Spare, Netflix, or the security court battles. But small appearances reveal the same unresolved question: what exactly are Harry and Meghan allowed to do with royal status? Can Meghan be marketed as a duchess on commercial television? Can a challenge be built around that title? Can she object to being called royalty while allowing the title to be used as the hook? Can the couple reject royal duty while still using royal language as a business asset? The answers remain contested because the Sussexes continue to live in the blurred space they were told could not exist. For Meghan personally, the lesson should be simple. If she wants to be taken seriously as a lifestyle figure, she has to become bigger than the title. She has to show generosity in rooms where she is not the most beloved person. She has to build trust with hosts, contestants, producers, and audiences. She has to create useful, enjoyable, repeatable content. And she has to stop turning every awkward story into a defensive media scramble. A confident brand can survive a bad day on set. A fragile brand turns that bad day into an international headline. For Harry and Meghan together, the lesson is even broader. Their strongest selling point remains their royal connection, but that connection is also the source of their biggest mistrust. Every time they use it, critics remember why the late Queen said no to half in, half out. Every time they deny using it, critics point to the title, the styling, the marketing, and the access. Every time they claim kindness, another allegation or awkward report complicates the image. Every time they claim privacy, another media appearance complicates the claim. The contradictions pile up. That is why the palace's silence should not be mistaken for approval. The royal household often avoids public comment because any direct response would inflame the story. But silence does not mean the institution is relaxed about the use of titles in entertainment. It may simply mean the palace has decided that open confrontation would hand Meghan more attention. The difficulty is that silence lets ambiguity grow. Supporters can claim there is no problem because the palace has not objected. Critics can claim the palace is too weak to enforce standards. In the middle sits the unresolved truth. The Sussexes continue to operate in a grey area that benefits them more than it benefits the monarchy. For now, the MasterChef story will likely be edited into something smoother when it reaches television. Viewers may see smiles, food, polite exchanges, and a duchess enjoying a moment in an Australian studio. But the pre-broadcast reporting has already shaped the frame. People will watch for the tension. They will watch Poe's face. They will watch Meghan's expression. They will wonder what was cut. They will wonder whether the warmth is genuine or produced. That is not the kind of attention Meghan needs if she is trying to sell ease, grace, and domestic charm. The Oprah portion of the story shows why these things linger. When a major media moment is badly handled, people keep returning to it. They rewatch the clips, they compare later explanations. They ask what questions were not asked. They decide who was protected and who was exposed. Oprah's interview with Harry and Meghan still matters because it trained the public to be skeptical of Sussex narratives that are emotionally powerful but light on detail. Now, when a story emerges about Meghan and Poe, that skepticism is already waiting. The audience does not approach it neutrally. It approaches it through years of accumulated distrust. In the end, the issue is not whether Meghan had one awkward day on a cooking show. The issue is whether this is another small example of a much larger problem. A duchess who wants admiration without challenge, royal status without royal rules, commercial opportunity without commercial scrutiny, and sympathy without accountability. New ideas reporting may be softened by production language and balanced denials, but it has landed because it fits what many critics already believe. Oprah's backtracking lands for the same reason. The title protocol debate lands for the same reason. The Sandringham question lands for the same reason. The public is no longer judging these moments in isolation. It is connecting them. That is the real danger for Meghan. Once a reputation becomes a pattern in the public mind, every new report confirms it, even if the individual details are disputed. A look on camera becomes meaningful. A host's tears become symbolic. A producer stepping in becomes evidence. A denial becomes spin. A royal title in a cooking challenge becomes constitutional controversy. That is the cost of years of unresolved contradictions. Meghan can still appear on television, still launch products, still brief friendly outlets, and still call herself a duchess. But trust, once eroded, is very hard to rebuild. And right now, every